This week on the Canadian Real Estate Show.
Toronto region condo sector sees deepening slump as sales fall 81% in the third quarter.
Motivated buyers could spur uptick in Toronto area real estate, agents say.
Ford government plans $200 rebate check as possible early election looms.
Canadian real estate prices fall. Market unsure if bounce is near.
Ontario to require provincial approval for new municipal bike lanes.
Canadian housing starts rise 5% in September, but long-term trend decline.
How key are interest rate cuts to restoring housing affordability?
And Toronto and Vancouver are now the weakest real estate markets in Canada.
All this and more. Let's go.
I've been hearing a lot of, hey, I really like it when you guys have guests. And I just want to tell people,
Where'd you hear that?
We were the first to have the guests. All right.
Were we the first podcast? Blah, 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 blah. Were we the first podcast ever to have a guest? Was that our idea?
No.
We invent that whole thing?
Definitely not. But just talking about other Canadian real estate podcasts that may or may not be on Sunday mornings. We were the first to have guests. That was so 2021, Now it's all about, the content, the conversation, the jackets.
The jackets is what it's really
go so
all
much
about.
further than just a couple guests,
Jesus.
And you never really know who's going to come on the show either. Like some people have got a lot of knowledge, but just aren't that exciting to talk to.
Well, see, that
frank.
was the thing, right? To be frank.
We do this we do this liberally. We're here to have fun. We're not here to,
that's part of the
have
problem.
Any other motives, to be honest with you.
Well, and that's part of the problem.
Not making any money here. So
because when other people are doing this kind of thing, they're promoting themselves, right? And they're trying to sell something. And, that's kind of boring more often than not.
I've started promoting myself. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not.
Don't pretend like you're not, but like we don't do it during the show really, where it's like we're constantly pitching ourselves and we're trying to look like we're experienced and professional people, right? We have fun for an hour, and if people learn something, that's kind of weird. But if they don't,
I don't know what you're listening to.
Yeah. Give us a little hint as to what you heard so that we can figure it out on our
Sometimes
own.
I read things in the comments where they talk about something that I said and I'm like, I have no idea that I said that.
Yeah. When did I say this? Yeah. I have no idea. It's like I tell my wife, it's like when I play in my band. It's like we're just riffing here for an hour. I don't really know what the hell came out of my mouth. I certainly have no idea what came out of your mouth. And then when I listen to it again, I'm generally fairly entertained. TK, you're an entertaining guy, man. You are an entertaining guy. TK, before we get too deep into this discussion here, we have some stuff that I would like to do. Can we do that?
Of course, Darryl.
Without screwing up the flow here? Or do we want to do that later?
Let's stop talking about it and get to business.
Let's get to business.
Darryl, you know what time it is?
It's time to
like, comment, and
subscribe to this channel. A lot of people haven't been subscribing lately. I've noticed subscriptions are dropping.
Ooh,
TK.
What's that? Is it a sign of the times?
Maybe we're just maxed out. Maybe there's only this many people that are interested in this kind of crap, right?
I have to say.
Well,
hey, whoever you are,
make
sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, and why not even hit the bell?
Hit the bell. Okay, here we are once again, Sunday morning, and nothing to do except this. TK, is that good or bad?
You know what? I don't like to say these things, but I gotta say it. The month of October has been my busiest month of the year.
Busiest month of the year.
It is absolutely insane. Some
right
of the responsibilities that I have in life were being neglected over the last 2 weeks because I'm just
10 years
busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy.
Sure. You gotta neglect everything.
I was neglecting stuff this week, like laundry. I'll get to that.
Who needs laundry? Just buy more underwear.
Right? Huh. But that's we got an uptick. I'll tell you right now. I'm wrong. Because in September, the real estate market,
the whole market,
our team already passed our last October sales.
Holy Jesus Christ.
And we have like a lot more already conditional. So, okay. So in September, I'm seeing all these houses come on the market. My listings aren't getting showings. I'm getting feedback that they're overpriced. I got buyers who are coming out are just kind of going like, you know what, whatever. No investors are back in the market. More and more people I'm meeting with have got more problems. I'm like, geez, this September fall market is really going to get stuck with a lot of listings. Inventory numbers are piling up. Treb's reporting more sales. Agents are reporting ghost towns. I got all sorts of issues left, right, and center. And people who bought my listings from previous months are having a hard time selling their homes. So we're talking about all sorts of different options and obstacles there. So I'm like, man, we're in trouble. At this pace, we are really going to see a further correction in prices.
This
That's
is
what
in
happened.
September? This is where you were
September.
thinking? I don't remember you saying anything like that. Okay.
Watch the videos. You don't watch the show.
Okay.
Now, October came. Yeah. I had some price adjustments. I had some, pressure on sellers that were allowing them to basically be a little bit more lenient. But man, the buyers came out right in offers. We weren't getting a ton of showings. The showing activity didn't increase tenfold, but it increased, a little bit, maybe like it doubled. But the amount of offers you got are satisfactory. I mean, at the end of the day, if you get an offer that the seller accepts, that's the goal here, right?
But you said a couple of things in there. So you said like offers are satisfactory, and you had how did you word it? You had pressures on the
sellers had pressure, like they bought a house already. They got, their mortgage payments went up. Like I'm still dealing with people who are under the gun to sell. No lie. Under the gun to sell. Over half my sellers, they're selling. Death, divorce, finances, right? So they were willing to do what it took, but the buyers weren't willing to offer before. Then the buyers all of a sudden in October started coming out swinging.
So, but what changed?
More than they needed to.
But what changed? Wow. How come all of a sudden this week your team is like selling 3 houses a day?
There's everybody who's. I'm sure if it's our team, it's not just all of our clients happen to be lucky. It's the whole market's got a little bit of an uptick, and that's what some of the articles talk about. But why? It's the same thing that I was talking about last time. There's a need to purchase. The buyers are coming out saying, "Look, I need a house to live in. What am I supposed to do?" And I think interest rate cuts changed perception. Yeah, there's a little bit of savings on your monthly payment when rates come down. Yeah, there's some relief for sellers who are holding on to their properties. But really, sentiment controls the market. And I think buyers got a little bit more confident that the market's going to bounce back. And it wasn't just my clients. It wasn't just other people's clients. It seemed to be the whole GTA market.
Wow. Well, I mean,
inside the GTA, we'll say near to Toronto, because when you start going into the outskirts again, you got issues.
But this is still people that you dubbed natural buyers still, right? Like these are people that have pressures and are natural buyers that are the ones transacting at the moment.
Yes, those are the buyers right now, and they came out in droves. I don't know what's going to happen in the last 12 days. 13,
what happened?
11 days in trying to figure out what day Sunday will be when this is released. 11 days left in October. But I can tell you the first 2 weeks of October were the busiest 2 weeks I had all year.
But like, I don't understand what changed. Is it the policies that have come in?
Sentiment. None of those policies have taken effect. Buyers said, I need to buy and I'm ready to buy. And whatever the reasons they were holding back in September for, they're like, I can't wait anymore. So they're buying.
But what were they waiting for? What was that month?
I don't know how things work in their minds, Darryl, but I'm asking the questions like, where are your buyers coming from? Some of them own another property. So they're now confident that they're going to be able to sell. And so they're buying because they need to change schools. They need to get a bigger house, whatever it is. Other people were new to the country. They just got their PR card. And so now it was like, they're ready to buy. So they're excited.
What kind of price point is that person in at the moment?
1.3.
1.3. You just got your PR card. You're finally allowed to buy, and you can afford 1.3. That's a fucking starter home, right? That's a starter home.
Money's coming from China. Chinese
money is coming from China.
Been here for a few years, 4 years, 5 years, something like that. A group of families. So I sold a big house that had like a lot of multi-generational aspects to it, and so a family. I believe there's 3 generations or 3 sides that are going to move into it. They're selling 2 or 3 houses in order to move into it. So they bought that. Yeah. So like, I mean, you know, these type of things. So all of a sudden they
But no
finally found something.
investors, like people that have, because, you know,
No.
we've talked about it a million times, how it just feels like the investors are bursting at the seams and waiting for something to do and looking for, you know, good deals to put their money in. And they don't necessarily exist at the moment still, I don't
Yeah.
think. Although some of these like inventory condos that have been kicking around for a while, there must be some kind of a bulk like opportunity at the moment, no?
I don't know. I don't think that the developers can sell for any less than they've got on their performance. I mean, at the end of the day, they just got to hold it.
Well, but
They got to
there's a
hold it.
point in time where holding it eats up the margin that you're trying to get by hanging on to that number.
I think they're screwed. I think that there's, you know, really going to
Screwed.
be, you know, tough. I mean, like if they've got inventory, like when you're talking about
Mhm.
inventory, then it
I'm talking
means that
about
they've already got their
standing
financing.
inventory.
Yeah. So they're not really, you know, pressured to sell as much as you would think, right? Because they're already going to be building.
But that's, you're talking about a construction loan that can't get paid out, that is on, like, let's say a 400 unit building. This is like hundreds of millions of dollars that is just clicking away and
Mm-hmm.
racking up more and more. And, you know, each month, imagine how much interest that would be
Yeah.
every month that
It's a
you're
lot.
just hanging on to
Someone will
that
do the math.
price.
Someone will do the math on that. I can't talk and math at the same time.
Oh,
But
well, I know based on my projects, which are a fraction of that scale, what the monthly interest payments are. And it's like, I don't know how long you can hold on to a price for,
yeah.
especially with those costs mounting. And
But
then,
even as an investor, is that even a deal? Like for you to go in and buy some condo that was already overpriced by 40% and now is only overpriced by 30%? Like, come
well,
on.
I don't
Why
know. I
wouldn't you
don't know
just
where
go
they're
and
at.
buy a
That's why I'm
resale
saying
condo in the area? Like it makes no sense. Pre-construction condos for the general investor or
no,
just for the general developer are a zero sum game
we're
right
not
now.
talking
Nobody's
pre-construction. We're talking standing
okay,
inventory.
okay, okay. But I'm
There's
just
got
saying
to
that
be
those
some like guys who are like, okay, like we got to get rid of this shit now.
new
It's
construction, I
time,
should have said. Yeah.
right? That's a
It is what it
whole.
is. It is what it is. There's going to be people out there right now who are looking to invest and they're going to be smart about it. And that the people who weren't very smart, this is the truth. The people who are stupid, okay, which the majority of
There's
people,
a lot of them.
the majority of people are stupid and they're not educated real estate
That's
investors.
right.
That's just the
Unless
way
you're
it
watching
goes.
this show still, then you're probably
Actually, we got some
fairly.
really astute people who watch the show.
It's
But anyways,
shocking
they
who
call me
watches the
sometimes and I
show.
talk to them. But anyways,
No,
and you
it's
go out
shocking.
and see them. They come to your house
They invite
and
me for lunch. They want
yeah,
to.
you got everything. Now,
This is crazy.
what I want to
I got
say,
everything, TK. That's right.
what I want to say is the people who
What are you
have the
saying?
money, who know
Yeah.
what they're doing,
Yeah. Where are
are
they?
the ones who are still able to buy. Because the stupid people lost all their money. They're not able to buy anymore.
But they don't want to buy yet because do they? So hold on a sec. So are we
The
at
ones
a
with the
point
money
now
who are
where
making
it?
smart decisions from day one and didn't get involved in a lot of the hype,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or took very calculated risks during that time.
Yeah.
They've got the money. They want to buy, but they're coming to me and I'm looking at the deals and I'm working with one guy in a building. It's like a $12 million hotel. We're doing a student rental conversion and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like he's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's not going to just fall into any sort of emotional trap of, you know, the market's going to go up or down. You know,
Yeah.
we're looking at exactly what it's going to take to finish the building and how much money he's going to have to invest afterwards and where all the rents are going to be. And, you know, if it doesn't make sense, you know, we can't buy it. And there's going to be a price that's going to be the ceiling to pay for the building. That's it. There's no other
Well, but
options.
some guys have to make deals though. Like most of these finance companies, a lot of the developers, like it's all based on fees, right? It's all fee driven. If they don't, you know, make more deals, they don't get more fees. And if they don't get more fees, then they got to let people go. And if they let people go, then they can't make the kind of money that they're used to. And then, you know, the whole thing starts to unravel, which is something I wanted to talk to you about, TK.
Talk to me.
You know,
I'm here for you.
people, I've been hearing the word deflation a lot lately, and
Ooh,
I tried
not
to talk about it.
disinflation, deflation.
This is what you do, TK. This is what you do. I'm
Mm.
trying to talk about something specific, okay?
Yeah,
And then like last week, next thing you know,
derailing
we're
you.
talking about stagflation again. Okay.
Well, you know what?
Can we
Let me
stick
tell
to
you the
this?
history. I'll tell you the history of stagflation.
Well,
Okay.
you're not
Back in
interrupting me
okay,
ever.
all right, okay, you go.
Can
Go.
can you What were you saying? Back in what? Because
I
I
was
mean,
going to
when
tell
you
you the
do
history.
interrupt me, it's generally something far more interesting than what I was about to
Okay,
say.
deflation. Talk to me.
Deflation, TK. People are throwing it around. And people throw it around like it's a bad, naughty, nasty word. And people act like, you better avoid this deflation thing no matter what, because deflation is way worse than even hyperinflation, right? And so I do this regularly because I don't know what I know and I don't understand half the stuff that I know. I know what I know and I do stuff. Okay. If that makes any sense at all to you, TK. But so when I know what deflation is, but I felt like I needed to study up a little more on what deflation it actually is and what it does and how it works. And I mean, as I'm reading it, I'm going, man, like this sounds like something that the economy kind of could use. Why is this such a bad thing? And obviously, I don't want that to happen. Okay, like get me straight. I own a bunch of real estate. I don't want it to go down. But when you read what deflation is, okay, like if you're living in a bubble for 30 years, like deflation's kind of the only way to get things back to a regular point. If you just keep regulating the inflation, like right now, like we just talked about, that starter home is like $1.3 million. Okay. When I started, a starter home was 280 something.
Starter home for somebody who's coming to who's been here in Canada for a few years, just got their PR, so now they're eligible to buy. It's still a 4-bedroom, 2-story house in North York.
Fine, but still,
Okay.
look, you could
All
buy
right.
a townhouse for 1.3 million. You could buy like a
Sure.
condo for 1.3 million, and that's not like a crazy price these
No.
days in
No.
Toronto. This is
No.
kind of
Slightly
this is
above average.
below average, no? Above average, a little above
Average
average.
price, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
average price.
Yeah.
So, but like that, the houses aren't getting better, the properties aren't getting bigger, the prices are going up, right? And I'm thinking here, going, holy shit! Like I have a nice chunk of money, okay, and it's like it's nothing. I feel like a middle class TK, and so
Mm.
all of our money has kind of disappeared. Our purchasing power, right, has
Yep.
completely disintegrated, where you can't get
Yes.
fuck all for
We
anything.
welcome deflation then. Bring
Well,
us back our purchasing power.
well, this is the real issue, because obviously I don't want everything to fall apart. I mean, if everything but real estate
It
could
can
fall
do it
apart,
after your
that would
deal
be
sells.
fucking cool.
After you get your deals done, then
Yeah, after these
whatever.
deals are done, deflation, come on, do your thing. But there's got to be a way to, I mean, deflation isn't only through the real estate market crashing, like it's through technology, right? Like if you look at how much furniture used to cost when my parents were getting married, right? And the quality of that furniture and just the cost of it. I mean, people spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on like a dining room table, right? It was like a dining room table. It was
Yeah.
whatever, but it
You ate at it.
lasted.
Yeah.
Now, like, if it's more than $5.99, like I don't know how many tables you're selling, right? Everybody, right? And then it breaks and it's like, who cares? It's only $5.99.
Yeah.
Money is weird now, but at least like technology or slave labor, right? Or there's other factors that can bring deflation into a market. It doesn't have to be like
Yep.
a crash
Automation is
of real estate
deflationary.
prices, right?
Yep.
But we need this cleanse like badly, because I
Yeah.
went out for dinner last night, and I mean it was a good dinner. It was a wonderful restaurant, and I don't give a shit. Like it was not worth what we paid for it. And then
Yeah.
on top of it, it's the tip is like a whole other meal, right? It's
How
like,
dare you not provide a 20% tip
no, but
to
how
said
are we
waiter?
supposed to get things right when everything is so crazy and out of control, and we have programmed everyone to fear prices coming down, which is like really what we all want to happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, and why don't we spend $1 billion and make a robot factory like next week?
It's coming. It's coming. There's
Why don't
definitely
we
things that
put
are coming.
all of the unemployed people into like an acre and say, here, build this thing, and have a few people that know what they're doing to instruct them along the way, and order a bunch of robotic arms and stuff like this. Could, like, you could have this thing up in a year. and you could pump out a whole bunch of stuff. How come we don't?
So the fear that you have been hearing, most likely on Twitter, about deflation, right?
Okay.
Is just, it's based on that. It's based on fear. It's based on what people believe could happen because they feel like, because of the pressure economically, that we're going to start to see deflation in assets, deflation in commodities, deflation in, overall, cost of living. Okay. But at the end of the day, the Bank of Canada's order, their mandate, is not just to keep inflation down, but also to keep deflation away. Right. And already,
they're bad at this.
They've definitely demonstrated. Right now, I'm on the Bank of Canada's side as long as they keep doing what they're doing right now. Okay. So we could have October 23rd, another 50 basis points rate cut. We could have further rate cuts to protect us from deflation. They know the tool they have, and that they know the risks of what deflation can bring. Yeah. And so, in my opinion, I don't believe that they're going to be gun shy to be able to use that tool if it's necessary, which I don't think is necessary.
Don't think is necessary.
I don't,
based on what you saw last week. But do you think this
based on all the factors that would require for us to start being in a deflationary cycle? Yes.
Well, so if all the smart people are sitting there going, I know rates are coming down, like I'm not buying now, people aren't hurting enough. Are people hurting enough?
Inflation gets entrenched. So all the costs that we had to build houses, how are we going to get those labor costs? You guys were talking about the port workers and, their union strikes and all that kind of stuff. Well, look at all the other labor unions that already had huge increases to their salaries, right? So it's okay. That's the labor side. Oh, then we'll look, okay, well, what about the cost of the materials? Well, the guys who are making those materials also got a raise to their labor, right? Gas prices aren't going down anytime soon, right? Yeah. Because OPEC's going to be, monitoring that to make sure that doesn't happen and keeping the oil reserves where they need to be in order to be able to keep our oil prices high, right? Fair. So there's so many things that are
Canada has to worry about that.
Almost impossible to happen in order for us to go into like a deflationary spiral. All right. There's just too many things that already got affected over the last 2 years by high inflation. So I believe that anybody shouting from the rooftop right now about deflation, in my mind, is just the same people who talk about the 50% real estate crash.
Well, but okay, so there's deflation and then there's a deflationary spiral. And I don't think that those two things are the same. One may lead to the other, right? But it also may not. So, when you're driving a car, TK, right? And you look over to the right and you see this sign that says 100, right? So you give it a little bit of gas and you go up to 100, right? Like that's your target, right? Some people, they're not comfortable driving 100, so they go like 90 and they think, I'm just at that point where I won't get a ticket, right? And some people are like, 100? Who the fuck can drive 100, right? I'm in a Ferrari. I'm going 140 and I'm pretty sure I won't get a ticket, right? So you got this range that you're kind of able to actually, your range goes from 0 to whatever the hell the car can do, right? But you can control it is the point. And then you got this brake thing, right? In case it heats up too much. And you kind of know it right away when it heats up too much. And you kind of know when you hit the brakes too hard too. So what the fuck are they doing? Why do they keep going? So why did it have to go up 500 basis points in 8 milliseconds? And now why do we have to have all these cuts? Boom, 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 boom. Why can't it just be like, okay, half quarter point down, well,
let's use your quarter
point up.
Okay.
Half a point down, quarter point up.
If you were to, put a car in the race, if you had a car in the race, we should say horse in the race, but let's say you got a car in the race.
Yeah.
All right. And you got two options. You got, a professional race car driver who spent his whole entire life since a child, working, racing go-karts and all that kind of stuff in order to be able to become a professional race car driver.
Like
and
Mario Andretti Jr.?
Sure.
Senior, junior?
Yes.
Okay.
All of those guys. Any one of those guys.
Any
or
one
me.
Of those guys. Or you.
Who are you going to put in the driver's seat of the car?
Well, is this a race or is it just driving the car?
It's a race. Who is going to be the better bet for you to make that car
right
go around the track
as
faster than
fast
everybody
as
else.
possible or at the
It's a
target
race. It's
fucking
a race,
speed.
Darryl.
It's
It's a
totally
race.
no,
Sure,
but
sure.
the
Target speed.
economy isn't
Who's
a
going to
race,
control the car
TK.
better?
Your
Okay.
analogy
So we
sucks.
got our best guys. No, we got our best guys on it. If you don't
No,
think
we
that those guys at
don't.
the Bank of Canada are more educated than the guys on Twitter, I don't think we can
This
talk
is
anymore,
not
Darryl.
the comparison,
I
okay?
don't
The
think we can
guys
have a
to Twitter.
conversation anymore about it.
TK, your
These are the
boots on the
most
ground.
educated economists that the country has and accountants,
No, but
the most
listen,
fiscally responsible people. I'm not saying they're perfect and they get it right. And maybe sometimes I talk trash about them because I don't like what they're doing. But at the end of the day, if there's anybody who can hit the and the burp burp better than anybody else, it's those guys. So relax.
yeah, but
chill.
these
Don't
guys,
buy
I
into this
think
stuff.
maybe maybe the problem is that he has, like you're right-handed, left-handed, like maybe he's left-footed and just he doesn't really got a good grasp on that
I
pedal, and
challenge anybody
he's
to
hitting it really
take
hard,
him
and then
one
he's
on one on what he knows about the
jerking the
economy and
brake.
how to drive the car. Let's move on from this topic, Darryl. Come on.
Okay, we're done with this topic.
Let's pass
Not
this.
important topic. Okay, well, what were we talking
We're
about?
not smart enough to talk about it.
Condo sector sees deepening slump. 81%. Okay. Sales fail.
Huge number.
This is a crazy number.
Like since 1996, the lowest pre-con sales. And 1996, I mean, just how many buildings were they actually building back then?
Forget about that.
How many projects there are.
Even more important. More important. And they never put it in here. And we always say it. More important than that. It's in relation to population size, right?
Yes.
So now you've dropped 81% from a stat from the 80s when the population was like half, maybe less than even half, right? So you have literally no activity and double the people or more than double the people.
Skrinko sold the only few condos and nobody else. So therefore, it was just
that guy time selling that business at the perfect time or what?
Yeah, I'm sure there's some pre-con guys who are doing it, but a lot of guys. So what I've noticed a lot lately, 81%. A lot of agents out of the market. So I've had quite a few encounters with agents who are no longer in real estate, and they might still have their license or they just gave it up. Definitely a lot of
what are they doing now?
A lot of stuff. I don't know. Doesn't matter, but they're doing other jobs, suitable jobs for them. Now,
teaching taekwondo.
There was one guy. It's possible. It's a good job. So it's possible there was one guy in BC. So he had just speaking about agents and their licenses, he had a guy walk into his open house, and the guy, said, "Hey, I want to buy this $2.2 million house. What do I need to do?" And he was like, "Hey, well, I'll make sure all the documents are exactly the way they need to be so that you can buy that house." And for whatever reason, he ended up in front of the BC regulator and had to admit to his mistakes that took away his license because he had the Brampton mortgage skills all the way out in BC. So we can't call it a Brampton mortgage out there. What do we call it? A Surrey mortgage?
Where was it? Was it in Surrey? Because you just said BC.
Yeah.
Well, so I think it can still be called a Brampton mortgage.
It's called a Brampton mortgage. All right. Yeah. So that's why he lost his license. And then another guy in Winnipeg who sold his own home. Actually, I had another story like this personally with a client. They're getting out of their deal because the agent bought a new house. The builder screwed up. They had major water issues. The agent then tried to resell the house without disclosing them, covered it all up, double-ended the deal. So many things. So that ends up in litigation because she ended up having to get an insurance claim right before the closing. And part of our insurance clause is that the buyer has the right to void the deal or not if there is a claim, but she never disclosed it. So anyways, they're fighting now to get their deposit back. But this Winnipeg guy, same thing, cracking the foundation, covers up the wall, doesn't say anything, representing himself. So there's a lot of reasons why agents are going to be leaving the business. The whole reason I'm saying this is because imagine the pre-con agents. They don't have the skills and the knowledge and the contacts to go into the resale market, right? So imagine if you're just doing pre-con and now you're going and trying to tell your buyers who all just lost money, oh, this is the next project. Oh, this is the one. Oh, all right. You know what? The price per square foot on that last one was way out of line, but this, imagine those conversations. I'd love to be a fly on the wall with those guys trying to convince their investors to buy again.
So this is a good question. How do these platinum agents or do platinum agents, listen, I've been saying for years that platinum agents should just kind of not even be a thing. Like they're this middleman between the developer and the people that maybe at one point was kind of necessary, but with technology now and the way that
No, you're wrong.
maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Why they have,
agent,
but aren't all these are the guys you're talking about? These are the guys that just
but
burned
those
all
guys
their
are the ones who
investors.
have those contacts and who actively do what's necessary to obtain those buyers. They come like Sprinkle, let's use him as an example. People will go to him and say, hey, I want to buy. And he'll tell them, is that a good project? Is that a bad project? And guide them, the way that they need to go. Right. So that's the agent's role. And so, yeah, those guys, I don't think those guys
But
would be
Skrinko
eliminated.
was pretty clear that I don't think he dealt much with investors. And if he did, he would tell them,
He dealt with lots of investors.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just
Was
would
he,
tell them, which buildings were garbage and which ones weren't. And I'm sure there's a few times where, those people bought those buildings and it didn't work out so good,
and
or
it didn't
hasn't
work
yet,
out so good.
because the market hit, like in
Right.
any other situation. But the bottom line is
There's probably
this.
a bunch of those that haven't come to light yet.
Exactly. The bottom line is you've got a significant need and demand for that buyer agency role in pre-con, because the developers need somebody who's getting paid like double the commission. Like it's, they really incentivize it in order to be able to convince people to buy in that project and not anywhere else.
Yeah. So this is the problem. You shouldn't have to bribe people to push the product, right?
They're
You should create a great product that kind of sells itself, right? Put it in a good location that people want and make it like.
I promise you're going to use agents to sell your building at in Forstall.
I will definitely use agents
Yes.
to sell it in Forest Hill, but
there'll
I
be agents
think
involved to be able to massage everything.
I'm not
and do
saying
all the
agents.
stuff that needs to happen.
I'm saying the platinum agent, like this level that like
Yeah.
got all the condos to put out to the next layer of Schmagelsteins, that would push it out to the next layer, right? But
those are the guys.
You had this system that it was like developer and then platinum agent, right?
The guys who get the allocations, yeah.
You don't need those guys to get all these allocations.
Agents
because
are stupid. You're giving them way too much credit. They're
I don't know.
Not that
maybe
organized.
listen, but those guys are going
do that.
for
you
investors.
Need one really
it's
organized
different.
guy making sure that all the other schmagegels are doing what they're supposed to do. Trust me.
I think, yeah. If you're trying to peddle something undesirable to investors, you need that setup. But if you're selling stuff to an end user, okay, and you're giving them a good product, you don't need a horde of liars.
Forest Hill doesn't need a VIP agent system where you're going to give allocations. Absolutely, you're right.
But why shouldn't every building be like? I'm not saying the price
to do 400 units.
Yeah,
you need to have some organization. It's a madhouse in there. You need to have someone come in and say, good, I got my 20 allocations. Here's my worksheets, And the developer, as they're handling hundreds of these things, thousands of worksheets potentially,
I've seen it in action.
Has got some sort of
I've always questioned this thing. There's a layer in there that is absolutely unnecessary for every level. And the original question,
there's no extra cost to it. The VIP agents, the platinum agents, those people, they just allow these other agents without the usually guys who aren't doing as much pre-con into the deal. So they say, look, it's a 4% commission. You give me one and you get 3.
No, but maybe we shouldn't have 400 unit buildings that you have to pre-sell 65%,
now
to
we're talking
people.
About a whole nother topic.
But this is the whole thing, is like, we got to do the things that right the market instead of just keeping it propped up in the same way so that we don't get deflation. And as much as I hate saying that, because I'm so deep in the market and I would hate for that to happen, there's a difference between what I want and recognizing kind of what needs to happen. And again, it's not like the real estate market needs to crash for all this to happen. There has to be ways to get us to be able to afford more shit. So if you're going to fuck us on our housing, like, why is food so goddamn expensive still? Like, it's everywhere.
So one of the articles that came out this week was that the new mortgage measures are a double-edged sword, right?
Yes,
they're basically saying,
how do they help with affordability?
They're saying, hey, isn't our goal trying to create more affordability for people? And it's like, well, by increasing it to 30-year amortization, by having, increased
your monthly
CMHC insurance
are lower. This is all they're saying.
It allows people to buy more properties. And
monthly
again,
payments
people are
lower.
stupid and people don't learn their lesson. And if the bank is willing to give them the mortgage, they will sign up and they will pay for it, even though they probably shouldn't, because there's just such a desire to buy housing, such a need for housing.
Fees.
People just want it. And as much as we all think that these decisions are not the right decisions, there's plenty of people who have made those decisions and been able to get by and weathered the storm and worked extra hard and paid down their mortgage, and they're doing just fine today, right? So at the end of the day, it is everybody's choice. Do I think that it's going to create what he's talking about, which is like a huge amount of demand and that all these people are now? No, because I don't think those products have as much weight as they are supposed to, or that we all hope they do. I don't think as many people qualify for them and everything else. But it is an opinion, that is out there, which is that any type of stimulus, any type of loosening of policy, any type of, the OSFI stress test, all this will create this ability for buyers to be able to access more capital and therefore allow them to pay higher prices, and so erode the very affordability that they were trying to create with these policies. I get it.
No, but
Makes sense.
the prices go up, but the monthly payments go down, and this is how they gauge affordability, right?
Okay.
They don't.
Well,
it's whether
that would
you
be
can
based on interest
afford the
rates
debt,
and
right?
the amortization. Yeah. But the main thing is this overall, is that going to cause higher prices, which for somebody who doesn't qualify for that product, right? For somebody who isn't thinking about, getting a 30-year amortization or having to go over $1 million for an insured mortgage, that would create more inaffordability, right, for them, because they're paying a higher price. Okay. So the argument is there, right? But there's just so many factors. We all know that, interest rates going up creates the market to go down. That interest rates going down creates the market to go up. Those are like really super, basic fundamentals that we all believe to be true, but they're not always necessarily true. They're not always going to be
It's
working
the timing
exactly
of
the
it.
way that we want, because there's a much greater force at hand. There's a much greater force that will dictate where the housing market goes,
But
and
that's
that's
because we
the
keep
overall economy, jobs, right?
slamming on the brakes and slamming on the gas.
I'm just saying the overall economy, jobs, perception, uh, things like that are going to be way more powerful than, somebody can go to the bank. If I don't have a job and I go to the bank and they're willing to give me a 2% mortgage, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Doesn't
If
mean
I'm
anything.
worried about my business going to be shut down, if I'm worried about losing my job, I don't want to go out there and buy housing again.
Well, that's
Right?
where the spiral comes in.
That's what sentiment does. So it's really powerful.
So we're feeling like sentiment is coming back, because I think even pre-construction seems to be like, I don't know, I'm getting a lot of emails. I'm seeing things launching that are kind of interesting. But then we're also seeing stuff like a lot of stuff switching to rental buildings now.
Yeah, you were mentioning that. I mean, that makes sense.
It makes
You're
sense.
back and forth on the rental condo side. Nobody is selling condos right now.
Nobody's selling condos.
So, like, what would it take if you want to buy, if you've got a project and you got zoning? How the heck are you going to carry that property for like how many more years until the pre-construction market comes back? 2, 3, 10? I don't know. But like, what are you going to do? You got to find something. You got to zone property. You can't sell a zone property right now. I am telling you.
I know.
I am looking at the MLS on all the land deals, unless it's a power sale or under receivership, they ain't moving. Nobody's buying them.
No.
And those receivers.
Actually, that's not totally true. I've noticed there's one guy buying a whole bunch of properties.
Okay, but there's probably some really good, attractive financing associated with it. I had one guy tell me the other day, I was talking to somebody, and he had bought a piece of land in South Etobicoke, but some buildings, industrial buildings, things like that too. He had like hundreds of units up for his rezoning application. I don't think he got it. I think he's still trying to get the zoning on it, but he paid $75 million for the property, and that it's
where
somewhere in Etobicoke.
Wow.
And that
must have been a big property.
Yeah, it's a big property. It's hundreds of units, and it was there's a lot of buildings on it. Could be thousands. I don't know.
It's got to be for that price. Fuck.
Yeah, but he said that the property value now has gone down to only $50 million.
Oh, that's easy for refinancing. That's what people like to hear.
Yeah. So it's like these are the things that are out there right now. And so people are really, really nervous. So if you got some sort of refinancing or sorry, incentive on the financing side, then you might be able to put together some of those land deals on the zone
I
properties.
like
Is
I
what it
just
was.
refinanced.
But
I just sorted that out. That was one of my main things I worked on this week was refinancing some of the debt on one of the properties. And
okay.
like, believe me, I mean, not that it was hard, but it was not uh it didn't go the way that I was hoping it would go, right?
Mm,
Because um like especially on land, like
yeah.
nobody gives a shit right now that the rates have come down.
Yeah.
It's like do you want money or do you not want money?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So
And I
it's
don't care
like
what the comments from the city are. You're not zoned.
no, not if you're not completely zoned,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it's not even that. It's just like even an extension. It's like, you know, you're looking and rates have come down considerably since we signed this last time. So you assume that, you know, this
It's the
maybe there's
same
a little
rate I got a year ago.
flexibility, but
What's going
again,
on?
it's like, do you want the money? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
kind of like need the money. So yeah, here, let's go.
Yeah.
What would
Yeah.
you like? Right?
Did you
But
go with the same lender?
yeah, of course. It's they've
That's
been
that's a good way.
wonderful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
They're
It's a
good guys. I like
beautiful
those guys.
symbiotic relationship where they give me money and I give them back money and everybody's happy,
That's it.
right?
Everybody's
I give
happy.
them
Yeah.
back more money and they're super happy. But again, it's like the environment has not been easy to get money for a while now. And
Mm,
even if I think back, to be honest with you, I mean, we go back to the good old days when that uh, infectious disease hit, and
mm.
like lending has been kind of weird since then, right?
Yeah.
People
There
are,
was a
like
few
you said,
moments of
a few moments for
what do you want
sure.
to call it?
Yeah.
Frosty territory where even lenders were willing to turn the blind eye on certain deals to get their money out the door, earning some interest, earning some juice.
You
There was a
had
moment
to.
there. There was a moment there. I saw a lot of bad underwriting in those couple of years there.
There was so much. And this is the
Yeah.
thing again, it's those fees. Like when you
Yeah.
have a floor of young men in suits that they can't really afford playing this part where
Can't
it's
afford the
like,
suits.
listen, your job is to sell money, right?
Yeah.
Right. Your job is to find deals that produce fees for the business, right?
Absolutely.
Ideally, of course, the deals make a bunch of money to make the investors happy. But like if you go down layers, right? You got this kid who just wants to make money and impress everybody, and he'll do whatever the fuck he has to do to
Yep.
get this thing done, right?
Yep.
And then you magnify that times God knows how many guys there are out there, and then you take there's the exact I don't know if it's inverse, but there's that exact guy that's out there hunting real estate deals down to pair up with that guy who's hunting down the money, right? And
Yep.
you've got all these young, hungry, and even old, hungry guys about to starve to death, all out there trying so desperately to just generate the next fees, right? And so you end up with deals that we're looking at now that are just upside down and sideways and don't make any sense. And we're like, who the fuck underwrote that? And how did these giant, smart, brilliant companies end up in all these bad deals that went upside down? And of course, timing is important, but there's a lot of guys that aren't going, you know, upside down on a lot of their deals, right? So, what am I getting at, TK?
I have no idea.
The market is a mess right now, right?
Okay.
And how do people
On the land
trust
side, commercial
anybody?
side.
The land
Yes.
side, the condo side, you're busy. I think, listen, I read other people, they're dying out there. So you're busy. Frank Leo's busy. The advertising machine is busy. Okay. But
Mm,
those other people, you know, the people that weren't smart enough to get on a good team, the people that are just trying to struggle through the first few years of this real estate license thing on their own with like a shitty brokerage or a shitty broker of record and like no training and no network and they don't know what to do. This has got to be like, imagine the shit that they're saying to people, right?
yeah.
Imagine the shit that they're pulling in the
Like I
background.
said, guys are getting out of the business, so it's that's
But
just
you
part of it.
need
And we're
like,
taking over a lot of listing. A few of the listings, like half
mm.
the listings I sold recently, were listed with another agent before me.
So, but is it that people are willing to believe you that your price is fucking wrong? That they didn't believe the last guy, or did the market beat them into submission and they realized the other guy was right, but
Yeah,
fuck that
I
guy?
think the other
And
guy helped me out a lot, because they spent months on the market. They lost money because they could have got more money if they hired us 3 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it is, a year ago, depending on
right.
their listing. But yeah, the other guy
But even your
helped
feedback
my
from
job
people was it was
helped my job become a lot
overpriced.
easier, because then they were a little bit more like open to listen, because I said, look, like some of them I told them the price that they were going to get. Two of them specifically, both of them are like rural properties. Both of them I told them the honest truth right from the get-go. Both of them said, TK, you're crazy, we're going with someone else. And both of them at the end of their, one was a year, one was maybe 3 months, were just like, TK, I'm sorry, we should have listened to you. What do we need to do to get it sold?
What do we need to do to get it
Yeah,
sold? And so
because they
I
realize that, everyone, like, talk is cheap. And like the agents that are out there are going to say and do anything they can. Now, I'm taking on a listing. I'm going to meet the guy next week. It's in North York. It's a wide property. There could be severance potential. I'm taking it on at a higher price than I think it should be at. So sometimes these things happen, just because I really don't know. If it can be severed, it's worth it. But I'm guessing it can't be severed, or that no one's going to want to take the chance on it being severed, because it's a reverse pie and you're going to have like a 1 foot minor variance on the lot frontage zoning bylaw, and you're going to have to get a minor variance on the total area of the
look
lot
at
as
you,
well too.
TK, talking all development lingo, like
I've done a lot of severances. I've
you've
done a lot of severances.
look at what you've grown, TK. You have
This show
grown.
brings
Look
out
at
the
you.
best of me. So
But
I don't
that's
think that that's going
amazing.
to be. So I don't think that that's going to be the result. But anyways, we're going to try, because it's an estate sale, and like they want to sell. Like it's like, we're not far off on the price. If anything, it's in North York. It's a good area.
Hmm.
So that does happen.
It does happen.
Yeah.
Well, where the price is too high and it ends up
Where you got to
working
take a
out.
listing that's a little bit higher. Yeah. Like when it's obvious, I just tell them the truth, and tell them, I'm hurting them by overpricing it by hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But
But when it's
okay,
not that
like you
obvious, it's
twist
like,
my
look,
arm.
this could happen. Let's try and at least come up with a plan on what we're going to do to get it to the right price eventually. But anyways, we got a couple of things here to talk about too.
I got a good one, a happy one.
What is it?
Since we're always
Happy
talking
one.
about negative shit all the
Can we
time.
agree on this one?
I don't know. Can we?
Okay. We don't agree very often.
It's funny that we really don't agree on much,
Sometimes
do
I
we?
just take the opposite point just because you feel a certain way. And I'm
I
not
do
really
the
too
same.
strongly opinionated on it. I'm just like, you know what? Let's just make sure everyone
Well,
has the opposite viewpoint. I'm doing it for educational purposes. I just want, when you bring in
sure.
Twitter
It
bound ideas and philosophies, I just want to make sure everyone hears the opposite one. I'm not saying I'm right or
listen,
you're wrong.
if we wanted to just hear us agree with everything, we would watch the Tom Story show, right? And that's we're here because we have if we were the same, TK, this would be even worse than it already is, right? It would
Okay.
be so much worse. But it's because of those differences, TK. But anyways, listen.
The differences bring out the best in us. Go ahead.
The differences bring out the best in us, and also what brings out the best in me is when I feel like I win. And I feel like I contributed to this win, TK. I think actually things started moving when I started bitching about it. And it seems like Mr. Ford has decided that in Ontario, we're going to require provincial approval for new municipal bike lanes. And, Ford said, why the fuck are we putting bike lanes in the busiest streets in the middle of the city and taking away lanes of traffic? Like, this is dumb. Stop doing it. And we're going to put a stop to it. And not for once, but recently, I don't think he's done anything great. I like most of the stuff that he did, but this was smart and swift, TK. This was smart and swift.
He's got a few good parts that come out once in a while that everybody's just kind of on. Okay? Exactly. Just everyone's just like, yeah,
but he's a putz. But he's good. Done. He's good for business, but he's like, he's bouncing around depending on who tells him to do what. Yeah, I don't think there's much originality. I don't think there's room for him to think anymore. I think he's quite controlled.
I think he's doing what he needs to do. Anyways, carry
hopefully,
on. We agree? Bike lanes?
Bike lanes. How good is that?
Well, it's they should reverse all future. They reverse the ones that we've already
reverse these stupid ones.
Just a bulldozer just grinding down Danforth, taking out all the Danforth.
I think
it's the most congested street with parking. Why did we need to have bike lanes.
You would get, you know what, if you decided that we needed to abolish, if you deciding won't make a
Put
difference.
bikes back on sidewalks.
If they decided to abolish these stupid fucking bike lanes that they added, they would be gone in a day. Like the whole bloody city would go and remove all that shit, paint the roads again, take all the barriers down. It would be gone. Every business owner would go outside, take care of the space in front of their business themselves, right?
The difference between a car hitting a bike, right, is like that cyclist is dead. Like that, like, you get hit by a car, like it's gonna really like affect the rest of your life. But if it's a cyclist on a sidewalk and he hits a guy who's just walking,
Chow from Woodland Public School,
okay, he's just walking. The guy's on a bike. Like you might have a little bit of a bruised elbow or scuffed knee, but you're gonna dust it off and get back on your way. You might as well just put the cyclist back on the sidewalks.
I was riding my
Save
bike
the cyclist. That can be the campaign. Save the cyclist. Put bikes back on sidewalks.
Put them back on sidewalks. When I grew up, you rode your bike on the sidewalk.
You rode the bike. My mom said, "Don't ride the bike on the road. It's dangerous.
You can still get fucking killed on the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk,
It's so much. Yeah, but now the pedestrians. It's a pedestrian sidewalk.
Those guys also drive cars. They'll understand.
The walkers.
The walkers also drive cars.
The walkers are drivers.
They're also
synonymous.
drivers.
What if they're walking to the bus stop and then they get freaking nailed by the bike rider?
Okay,
this is a big problem, but this is less of a problem.
Say no bikes on the bus. So then that way those guys on the bus will say, good, I don't want those bikes on the bus anymore.
The pedestrian bicyclist battle is far less important to society than the car bicyclist scenario, right? Yeah, so let them fight on the fucking sidewalks again.
Let them fight on the sidewalk. It's easy for them. If there's a real fight, you got to get off your bike and you fisticuff. But if it's in a car, you know what the car guy does? He goes near it's dangerous. Could kill somebody.
There's trails by my house and there's people walking. There's people on skateboards. There's people with dogs. There's people on bikes. There's people on e-bikes.
Trail
and nobody's banging into each other. Sometimes
anybody.
People are annoying, right? They come by with their fucking e-bike and their loud music or whatever.
This is clearly we're onto something here.
We're onto something here.
Me and you agree on the bike lane topic.
That's great. That's great.
Let's get Doug Ford in the show.
That's fantastic news.
But what was that other thing that he did though with the $200 rebate checks?
$200, man, per something. I don't even, is it per household, per person? What I think I read that one.
Hey,
I can't even read without my glasses. Ford government plans $200 rebate check as possible early election looms source. I don't know too much about this one,
Dougie,
but what I do
got my address. Send me the $200.
$200, right? TK. That goes a long way these days. Where are you going for dinner with $200?
$200. I don't go to the places that you go to.
Fine. So how many dinners could you get for $200? Because I mean,
I can go out for
life-changing stuff here.
3 to 4 times.
3 to 4 breakfasts. Okay, well, so now life is back on track for you, TK. You can
I got a gift card,
breathe a little.
I don't need the $200.
You can breathe a little bit. I know you. You're going to give away your $200 to somebody that needs it more than you. You're just that
Probably
kind of guy.
What I would do. Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to get it. Like that's generally what happens is I don't end up with any of these government things. TK.
You know what I noticed though? This is something that I noticed recently. Nothing to do really with the topic, but it was just something I said, we should talk about this on the show. I deal with a lot of people.
Yes, you do.
Different walks of life. I'm just talking to people. Yeah. And a lot of people don't work.
It's crazy how few people work during the day, right?
People don't work. Like, I know that sounds weird when you say it.
Everybody doesn't work.
You think like, well, no, everybody, like I'm working 7 days a week. I'm grinding out there. My work ethic is through the roof.
TK.
Well, I love what I do. It doesn't feel like it, but I'm telling you, I'm out there. And everybody else I'm talking to, like even other real estate agents, they're just kind of like, they just kind of live their life and every once in a while work. Cause I was talking to my barber and he was talking about the farmer life back home. And, I know that other countries, it's the same thing where you work really hard during harvest and then you're just off for like months at a time, just kind of doing nothing. And that's a good lifestyle for people.
The realtors aren't farmers.
On the farmer lifestyle here in Toronto too, where they've just found a way to be able to just get into some little groove. They got an investment, they got a rental property, they got some sort of government support. They got something happening where they don't have to work and that their day is mostly spent doing what I would consider as nothing.
Well, but that's what you think. But like, if you would see me,
they're full. They say I'm busy. Like, what are
TK,
you doing?
if you looked at me during the day at some points, right? I'm
Yeah.
walking down the street with like a hat and
You're
my
walking the
hoodie
dog for the
on, and
sixth
I'm walking
time.
the dog for the 14th time of the
Developer.
day, but
Yeah.
I'm on the
Listen, I'm not bringing
phone
that
though.
up. You're the
No,
one.
but I'm on the phone the whole time,
Okay.
right?
You're the one
I'm
bringing this up about you not working.
I'm not saying I don't work. I'm saying what
Not
appears
saying
like
either. You
not
are.
working to some
Yeah. No, I'm
is
asking them what
actual
they do,
work,
and they're
right?
just like, no, no, I don't do that. Like
Oh,
I got a
okay.
neighbor
That's
who
another
does I got
story.
a neighbor who doesn't work. He takes care of his mom, but he's
Don't
never worked.
work.
I've been here for
And what are they shopping
10
for? Why are
years.
you dealing with them? They're
I've been
selling something like their parents'
they have
house so they
different,
can keep
yeah,
not
like they have,
working.
they got to maybe sell their house or
Yeah. Sorry,
they
mom.
got
We're
an
gonna have to
investment
put you in a
property or
home now because
whatever.
I don't want to work for another 10 years.
Some of them
And
are
I've
not
got this,
clients. They're just
right?
other people,
I got
but they
this
just don't
great
work.
gig here where I'm draining, your property and,
So so
spending
this is
your
my
money.
thoughts on this, okay?
Hmm.
Because this is my thoughts on this. By not working,
They're not
right?
working.
You make a lot less money.
That would
You're
be
not as productive
logically
when you're not working,
correct.
right? So there's so many people with potential who are in their 40s and 50s
Yeah.
who could be making more money and could
Yeah.
be doing more than what they are. But I think,
Th-
is that normal? Like when
I,
people get to their 50s, is it just kind of like, all right, I'm done. I don't need to work anymore. Maybe I'm just not there yet.
I think that I don't know who the
Tell us in the
hell you,
comments, guys. If this is, am I wrong? Is this like,
but
am I like, do I just have one of these? Before I used to say I've got all these people around me who are making six figures and like 25-year-olds are making 200 grand and everyone told me I was crazy. Maybe
yeah.
I'm crazy about this too.
Well, I mean, I would definitely, a lot of people that I know appear that they're not working because their lifestyle is just so kind of ingrained with work. So it's like, you know, you can go play squash in the afternoon and, nothing changes and all the work still gets done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even people that are employees, if you can get stuff done at home on the company laptop, I don't know that they
I
care if you do
I
it
go to the
between,
jujitsu lunch class. Okay, trust
yeah,
me, these guys aren't working either.
nobody's working,
I'm
right?
like, don't you guys have jobs? And they're just like, yeah, technically I'm working right
Technically
now.
I'm working, right?
I'm like, no, you're not.
That's where I
That's
was.
not work.
I was,
They're like, well,
I
what are you doing here, TK? And
yeah.
I'm saying, I don't bring me into this.
No, but
Jeez.
this is me, right? But TK, my work doesn't have to happen between 9 and 5, right? Some of it does, right? But
Sure.
I'm up at 4 o'clock almost every single day, right? And I'm
Yeah.
working until God knows what time every single night.
You
But
don't
I'm
sleep.
also enjoying my family and I'm getting my work done and I'm going on vacation and nobody would even know. Again, like how many times have I said it? I could be in a
I wasn't
basement
saying
in
you don't work,
Panama.
Daryl. You're a worker. You're
I'm
a
not
bee. You're a
saying no,
worker
but
bee.
I'm what I'm saying. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't
You
care
seem defensive.
what I'm not. I'm saying what may appear as people not working
Yeah.
could not be accurate. They could
Okay.
be
This could be
very,
true.
or like the other day, I was sitting at a coffee bagel place, right? And beside me was these three older gentlemen, right, who appeared not to be working. But I guarantee you, those guys were making a whole ton of money while they were sitting there eating a bagel and having a coffee because I could hear them talking. They have businesses that are just running, right?
Yeah.
So is that working? I mean, if somebody from work called that guy and had it a problem, that guy'd be boom into
He's
like
on call.
right. He's right in it. He'll
Call
figure that shit
Jerry.
out.
What did Jerry say about it?
Yeah.
Tell Jerry to handle it.
I'm busy
What do you
right
mean
now.
Jerry's
I'm in
out of
a
town?
meeting. What are you bugging me with this shit
Ah.
for? Don't you know what you're doing?
That's probably
But
what would happen.
but okay, so but then there's even these young kids now that none of them are working, but they go on OnlyFans and they do something recorded for an hour, and I don't know what it is. It could be something fun. It could be
It
something
could be teaching
spicy. It could
violin.
be teaching
Yeah.
violin. It could
Yeah.
be doing the drums,
Yeah.
something. It could be all kinds of stuff. And it could be selling a course on Patreon. It could be a YouTube channel that, you have sponsorship and you make enough money because you live in like the Philippines or something. Or like I've been in houses when we were looking. Do you remember we went in that one house that had green walls everywhere and it was like just a normal house, and we were like, these guys must be YouTubers. And my son started talking to them and found out their YouTube channel, and they had like millions of followers. And it's like just, some people in a house in Richmond Hill or something.
Mm.
Yeah. And during the day, they're walking around having fun because they have this thing that's making thousands of dollars a day because they recorded for an hour and edited for 3 hours or whatever it is. Or they have a Shopify store that's like on autopilot, or, like people are working. Work is different now. People are going to have more time like this, and it's going to get more and more like this. It's kind of weird, but all these people that you're talking to, they're either selling something that's got to be close to worth $1 million or buying something that's got to be close to worth $1 million, right? Because it's in
They're not working.
Toronto.
That's how I look at it. They're
They're
working.
not working.
But they could be doing exactly what you say. Now, some of them actually say to me that they are not working. This is also, very a clear line of communication. But, other people might just appear that they're not working.
Or not even want to say what they do to make.
But I also deal with a lot of people who are at a certain age too, right? So I think that things do change over time. Every decade, you find more efficiencies. Your portfolio is getting a little bit more cushiony, and you're kind of saying to yourself, do I really need to do what I was doing in my 30s for this?
Some people,
and I'm still in my 30s, so that's maybe why I'm still in this rat race.
My uncle, he's a billionaire. He still works as hard as he did when he had like 3 pennies, right? Yeah. He's just that kind of guy. Just has to constantly work. And then you've got the younger people now who are like, why the fuck would I want to go to the same place every day from 9 to 5 and do the same thing every day for 20 years? Like, go fuck yourself. I'm figuring something else out. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Things are changing, but you know what's not changing? Fucking Canadian real estate. Not at all. It's just
people love it.
Trying to stay the same, like as best as it can.
They love every second of it. They want it, and they want to hold it, and they want to talk about it. And whether the price is higher or lower, they just want to say they own it. They love the sound coming out of their mouth.
Just talking about it. Right?
And that'll never change.
Renovating.
Population's high. We don't have a lot of properties. The only thing we can build is condos. We got a lake to the south. All those type of things will keep Toronto real estate protected. And, every once in a while, those people from Toronto will leave the city, buy properties that they shouldn't have, and cause all sorts of grief in those small towns. But the best bet is still in the 416.
When you say that, and then we get this article that says Toronto and Vancouver are now the weakest real estate markets in Canada.
Yeah, Better Dwelling. Never read it.
Never read it. Never read it.
Thank you, Better Dwelling, for your honest and unbiased views on the real estate market.
Okay, mixes up stats like
garbage. It's crazy.
Government of Canada.
Because whatever the negative viewpoint would be, they're going to put that in the title.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who does that. That's silly.
We've come to the end of the show.
Again.
Is there anything else we want to add?
There's so many things that I want to add.
Much we appreciate them listening.
We do appreciate them listening, don't we? I mean, that's what we do it for. If we didn't, what the hell are we doing?
We love you guys. We want you to have
the best fans ever.
I hope you're listening to this show and it's making you happy, and that we'll see you again or hear you again, or you can hear us again next week.
Unfortunately, next week. Adios, amigos. Arrivederci. Bye-bye. Au revoir. Sayonara.